to our community, Oceania Hundoke, together today with Reverend Daniel Meadows, who will be presenting. And it is Sunday, the 6th of July, 2025, or the 12th of June in the 13th year of Chonlguk. Thank you all for coming. And let's begin with a bow to our true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, Chunji Champunimge. Chongo. Paro. And let's recite our family pledge, both in Korean and English.
가전맨세 2. 천일국 주인 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 춘신, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 선자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 2. Our family, the owner of Chonlguk, pledges to represent and become central to heaven and earth by attending the heavenly parent and true parents. We pledge to perfect the dutiful family way of filial sons and daughters in our family, patriots in our nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in heaven and on earth by centering on true love. Thank you, and I wish to offer Mother's prayer again that True Mother gave at the Palace of Congresses in Albania on the 27th of October 2019. Heavenly Parent, we are thankful and truly grateful. Heavenly Parent, we know how much you have looked forward to this day. Today, 12,000 representative couples have been reborn through the blessing as your children. Thank you for blessing and being with the 12,000 couples who have gathered here. When we look at the history of Albania, one of the countries in the Balkan region, we know that they have gone through terrible times. God, please watch over this country. Through your embrace, they can become a heavenly Albania that attends you, Heavenly Parent. Bless families that can open a new era were born today. At this time, through these children who receive the blessing, we want to relinquish the resentments of their ancestors who perished unjustly. I know that you will do your best in the spirit world and on earth to accomplish your providence. Thank you so much, Heavenly Parent. How long did you wait for this day to come? Now, through these blessed families, may Albania not be remembered as a Balkan nation with a miserable past, but instead may they stand as a heavenly Albania, one with God, at the center of the world. Furthermore, thank you for granting them the grace and ability to expand your providence. Please remember the government, the religious community, and the citizens of this country who can now become citizens of Chonlguk as Heavenly Parent desires. Today, God is looking at this blessing and the citizens of this country with hope for the future. He is eager to see how they will move forward. Heavenly Parent, please be with Heavenly Albania as they embark on the path of chosen families. Heavenly Parent, please remember and bless them all. I pray and proclaim all this in the name of True Parents, Arjun. Thank you. Let's offer a warm welcome to Reverend Daniel as he shares this morning.
Thank you, Reverend John. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Yeah. Had some interesting experiences this week with different pastors, and last night we had there was Pastor Adini, who's one of our, he's quite a long time ambassador for peace and very enthusiastic PCLC participant. He had his 50th birthday celebration, and that was something that I knew I couldn't miss because he'd been advertising it for about 6 months or so. Since the start of the year, he'd been really advertising, oh, it's my 50th, so please everyone come along. And uh, in 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 any given month, he might send out two more reminders that it was coming up. So a very serious affair. And actually, it was, with the workshop coming up and everything was quite busy, and I thought, oh, I don't know if I have time, but he's been inviting everyone for non-stop for the next 6 months. It was really, really hard to say, oh, I can't come because he's anyway. So that's very interesting. I've never been to an event or anything or had that's been advertised so strongly. So really, he wanted the opportunity to meet a lot of his friends and a lot of the important people. And Pastor Adini, he's Nigerian, and so uh, they had a very it was yeah, anyway, the Nigerian community was there to support him and celebrate with him, so it was very culturally Nigerian party. Anyway, it was very nice, very beautiful, and what was really touching was that um he'd asked myself and Pastor Steve and also Bishop Nelson to come and say words and pray and do various things during the event. And it was really nice to. It was very touching to be asked to come and to pray at or to give it a testimony or something like that at his event. Very much showed the love he had for us and how much he cared and respected for us. Um, and these ministers for me feel like an able type of minister. They are very open, they're very genuine, and when they come and meet, they're really meeting out of a sort of mutual love and mutual respect. And it was very nice to have that experience because in the same week this week I met another minister, and um it was very nice, and I really like him, but he very much over the course of meeting him over some times I came to found that his motivation to connect and meet up was uh seemingly was that he was really trying to witness to me and really trying to even at this recent meeting, he was saying, "Oh, your future's not inside the Unification Church," and this kind of thing, which is for a minister to say to another minister was a bit interesting. And I thought, okay, this is not really the motivation of a sort of it was more than interfaith. We are sort of in PCLC. It's more like we are connecting and supporting each other and um, sort of yeah, anyway, supporting each other's ministry. So it when it was I was judging sort of in my head and looking at the two different types of ministers that I had met and I had connected with, and I thought, wow, there's two different types here. Some of them are very genuine and really want to connect well. Others, I don't know. I mean, their motivation's nice, but and it's also like that, but their motivation is a bit different too. So, um, but that's how it is. I think that's when when you're connecting with different people and or doing this kind of thing, you meet all different types. And in the St. Paul's talks about, well, when you go to a town and you know, they cast you out or anything like this, you just dust off your feet and you keep walking. So anyway, those were some interesting experiences that I had with some ministers recently. This section that from the Chongsongyong talks about training the mind. Um, Father says this: our mind accompanies us for eternity, while our body accompanies us for a lifespan. Our mind regulates our life, while our body regulates our everyday routine. A life differs from daily routine. A life refers to an entire lifetime, while daily routine refers to each day in a life. Similarly, our mind and body are inherently different. With human beings, the mind controls life, while the body controls daily routine. Thus, if we do not have meals in our daily routine, our body will die. Furthermore, our mind also eats, but it refuses to do so in situations that go against the conscience. When we examine this, we can see that the mind's outlook is far broader than that of the body's. So our mind accompanies us for eternity, while our body accompanies us for a lifespan. That's that's a profound statement in itself. Our body's only here for the lifespan, but our mind, that's going to become accompanying us for eternity. Our spirit continues even after our body goes. So mind and body we have, but the body, though important, is temporary. It's the soil that grows our spirit and our mind. And then Father's talking about the how kind of our body is for our everyday routine, where our mind is for our life. That's a very, very interesting way to look at it when thinking of training the mind, is that your mind has a higher goal, or your mind is the that which guides the overall direction of your being. Your body, of course, sort of is directing the life of every day. You need to eat, you need to really, do all the things that you need to do in order for you to survive and to continue. But it should be all done with that purpose of the mind, with that overarching understanding of I'm doing this for this kind of sake, this good sake, this centered on love, or this some sort of deeper purpose. If we just follow our body that is regulating, and our everyday routine that is doing the things that require us to survive from day to day, if that becomes our more deeper purpose, then we end up living ourselves a shallow life, putting our body first and our mind second. Whereas, yeah, the putting our mind first, Father always talked about. That's the way of mind body unity, is you put your mind first and have your body follow. And so even when your body says, let's go this way, if it's not connected with your mind's purpose, then you overcome that and you say, no, no, my mind is, I understand we must go this way. So it's important, of course, that we don't die, that our body continues its function, but our mind also eats, it says, but it refuses to do so in situations that go against the conscience. Interesting. So the mind needs to receive that vitality element, and that from heavenly parents, the life element. But that vitality element comes from the directing the body in order to do the good deed, or the correct thing, take the correct path. And the divine principle, that's a very interesting part when it talks about nourishment, the different types of nourishment that our body can receive, and of being yin and yang, being of light and air, or of food and water, the type that we need to exercise responsibility to receive. Then also our spirit needs that, the vitality element, which requires our responsibility, but also receives the life element that we just receive for free. And after that, it's in the divine principle, very interestingly, it talks about, and I really enjoy this explanation, is God doesn't decide who goes into heaven or hell. It's not God who is sitting there and sort of as the judge to say, sifting us aside, but the individual aside decides according to their level of which they have grown during their lifetime. I found that very, very profound when it came to the understanding of going to the spirit world, because I mean, there's so much that's said about it, but it's so interesting that to think that it's not that we're going there and someone's going to be wagging their finger and saying, "Okay, let me weigh up everything," but that we've already made the life that we are garnering at this very moment, or that the life that we are cultivating. Um, that's already kind of our judge. It's how we have the level at which we've grown ourselves. That's what we're going to have. That's the lungs of love that we've developed, or the ability for us to have to love in 12 different relationships. Um, that's what's going to be left when our body passes on. So, according to that, how close will we come to God? That's Anyway, that's so interesting. I really find that a really incredible way to understand the spirit world, which at times I find very hard to understand. But when it comes to judgment, that's it's such a difficult thing, because when you have a look at the way judgment works in our in our reality, the physical reality, is that people who are guilty of things can, if they can really speak well, if they are really a charmer with their words, they can get away with terrible things. They can gaslight people. They can make it sound like what they did wasn't too bad. Um, so when I think of, like, coming to receive judgment from someone or something, um, is it helpful to have a lawyer's training to make everything relative and break down what you did? Um, I don't know, but the if it is just an absolute reflection of how you're growing, or how you're realizing uh, God's level of love, then there's no hiding. Um, there's no being able to talk your way out of it or anything like this. Very interesting, very interesting. As soon as a baby is born and cries for the first time, it begins to breathe through its nostrils. Thus, it connects to the second world, the world of air. When it leaves the world within the womb and connects to the world of air, it must discard the umbilical cord and the amniotic sac that have sustained its life in the womb. These are destroyed, and simultaneously, the baby is born into Mother Earth. Thereafter, it feeds through the mouth and breathes through the nose. But the food we eat on Earth is the nutrition necessary for the life of the flesh. It is not the original, essential element of life. The essential life element is love. Therefore, while we live in this world, we also need to breathe the air of love provided by our mother and father. Jew. So we talk about the water being the element of life. I hear that every now and then, especially when we're talking about space or space movies or space stories. They say the element of life, water, that one thing that allows and sustains life in the experience of the flesh. Um, that's not the essential element that actually sustains uh, our life in the deeper sense. So I think it's understood that human beings require love, that's the essential part of their life. I think they did some really horrible experiments on people, on children and that, and found that if the baby doesn't receive love of its mother and father, then it dies pretty quickly, which is a completely terrible experiment to do, but very interesting to note that the that love is a very determining factor in human physical life. Of course, I think if you don't receive water, then yeah, you're going to die much quicker than if you hadn't received love. But it is notable. It is notable. I think they did a 70-year-long study on a range of different people to find what to have a look, examine human longevity, and so they examined all different kinds of people, very healthy people, people who are not particularly healthy, and they sort of just chose people in all different categories of life as babies, and then progressively did studied them throughout their lives, and it was over the course of several different scientific groups kept it going, and they found a lot of interesting things and gathered a lot of interesting data, but they said one of the most profound things that they discovered was that what was the key determining factor for a human being's longevity was that um, they had someone they could absolutely rely on. And it was often like a spouse that they loved, someone who was absolutely there, um, and that they could absolutely rely on. So they had a strong bond of love with this person. Doesn't, these people were able to, fight and argue or disagree or do any manner of things, but so long as the bottom line was they could absolutely rely on them, it seemed to be a marker of longevity, which was very interesting. So um, I think there were probably many markers as well, but they said that was a very prominent one. And so, um, yeah, laughter is the best medicine, but also maybe love is the best medicine too. How'd you? We need to breathe the air of love provided by our mother and father. True in our physical situation, also very true in our spiritual situation. The life element is, of course, by the principle we receive that life element from our heavenly parents for free, and that's the sort of wellspring of all life, of all human beings. And I've talked about we talk about and we have a look at human beings who, you know, are a social animal, is in the image of God, and so we require that love. But it's worth extrapolating a little further and thinking, well, perhaps all um, perhaps all creation also has a requirement of love that we don't really see or understand. Um, but that, yeah, animals and plants and perhaps even minerals and everything uh, requires the love of God to continue its existence. Um, a very interesting thought and perhaps something a little tricky to find out for sure. But there is interesting things where they have those experiments where you take water and they'll put the same water from the same source in different jars or whatever they were, and they'll label them. And so people would give negative thoughts or negative words and or say something to one jar of water, and then another jar they'll say something positive and something sweet and something nice, something loving. And then they examined the molecules. They I think they froze them and examined the crystals or something like that. And the one in the negative jar was all kind of broken and decayed and not really nice. But the one in the other jar was very beautiful and had very nice crystals. And so they saw there was an interesting. They were the same source of water in the same spot, and I think they repeated the experiment. They also did it with plants, and they found that I think one of them, if I recall, one time they did this, they got 12 plants and they put the name on the plants of each one of Jesus's apostles or each one of his disciples. And the plant that had Judas on it. So when people, even they're not thinking of anything, but they have a look at, and then they look at, oh, Judas. And so already they are negatively thinking and looking at this plant, and that plant suffered so much more than the other plants. Um, they did other experiments where they would say words and they would curse at one plant and say loving things to the other, and the one that they were cruel to died. So I think there's been a few experiments like that, but it's very interesting. It does bring up put a bit of credence to the idea that perhaps everything is really requiring of love, or that it really suffers if it isn't loved. So we live in a world of love, but our physical world is a world of finite love, and the spiritual world is a world of infinite love. How natural would it be is if we're cut off from the source of love, or if we separate from what is good and what is loving, that when we go into the spiritual world, the world of infinite love, we find ourselves in a difficult situation. This is the problem and the difficulty for fallen man. Life is short. Oh no. 10 years can pass almost without you knowing. Everything is decided in the 30 years after your marriage. The path of life does not wait for you forever. Life is busy. We all have to die at some point. Do you have confidence that you will not die? You will surely die, and then you will go to the spirit world. Life on earth is but an instant. It is like the months spent in your mother's womb. 10 years can pass almost without you knowing. Yeah. When remember when I was younger, every year seemed so long. It took forever. I remember in primary school I would sort of be calculating the months looking for when will it I wonder when this year will end and I'll have Christmas again and the holidays and everything. And it felt like forever. It took forever to get to April or March or something. and then the year would just never end and drag on. Sometimes you think about, oh, I remember those years when I was a kid, and you think, oh, that was probably just like 1 year that I'm thinking of. And that year felt like it was went on. Like the summer of that year just went on and on. And I must have gone to the pool a million times and all these things. And these days, yes, a decade can just slip you by and you're like, oh, where'd that go? Already we're halfway through this year. It doesn't feel like we've even started this year, and already we're absolutely churning through. It's almost like God is speeding things up so he can meet us quickly. Wow, a Jew. Oh, good question, Huddy. How does one give love to a child without the child being spoilt or having a mind of being entitled? Good question. I would think that having a strict sense of rules, but at the same time a very loving heart. I'm not sure. Maybe we can let's talk about that. Are you? I'm almost finished, so we can. That's a good question, I think. Um, well, yeah. So 10 years can pass without us knowing life is very short. Um, it it's good to have a perspective of what's important when we are looking at our our life. Very interesting, something said here. It says everything is decided in the 30 years after your marriage. Uh, I thought that was very interesting. And there wasn't much more context. It was this paragraph was by itself, and so I wonder. It's from the Chongsong-kyung. Maybe there was further context in the origin of where this came from, but everything is decided in the 30 years after your marriage. Oh, I feel like everything's decided directly after your marriage. Your wife has everything figured out. Are you? Aye. The 30 years after your marriage. So it must be once you're married for 30 years, then really you are. Does that mean that everything is kind of on its course? Uh, I wonder what Father was talking about. The path of life does not wait for you forever. Perhaps that puts maybe that in a bit of more context. The in the divine principle, it often talks about the period for which you can do something is not without an end time. Um, we're always allocated an amount of time to do something. It's interesting to think about that. We're not given forever to do things. Maybe in spirit world we will have something close to forever to do something, but in the physical world, I mean, we have only until the end of our physical life. So no matter what we're doing, we certainly have a time limit. And it must be, I mean, we hope it's around 100 years, but is it? We're really given a time limit. The path of life does not wait for us forever. So, yeah, well, life is busy and we all have to, we'll conclude at some point. It is like the months spent in your mother's womb. I mean, I don't, I hear that some people remember their time in the womb, but I think most people don't, and I certainly don't. But I do wonder, did those 9 months, did they feel like forever? Or did they feel, how long did they feel? They probably felt like a long time as a child. Or maybe not. Maybe you're so busy and they're growing in the womb that it just, you know, but it's certainly a finite amount of time before we then shed the placenta and everything, and then come into the real the world of air. So, well, when we are worrying and considering about all the things in life, and there's a lot to worry about, and there's a lot to consider, and certainly there are many things that are important, but in the theme of this discussion today, what will we truly what's truly going to be with us when we go to the spirit world? What's that remnant that's going to remain? And um, that's our love, the development of our lungs of love, as they call it. We develop our lungs for air in the womb, and we develop the lungs of love in the physical world. How developed will they be, and how well will we go? Our tongil mark that we have on our flag and our blessing rings and all these. This is very, very beautiful symbol of ours. It's got the 12. It's got the 12 central radiating points inside the square, and if I remember correctly, I think that's the 12 relationships. So the 12 different types of people, and or the 12 personalities, I think it is, and then 12 different types of relationships. And Father would talk about you need to really be able to learn to love 12 different types of people, or deal with 12 sorts of relationships. And oh, I struggled with that. That's a difficult thing to do because it's I'm not really one much for the the new astrology, or whatever it is, where it's you're born and so you're a thing, and oh, there's people are like this if they're a Scorpio or a Cancer or a Pisces, or like that. And but it is interesting that there are definitely personality types, and there are definitely um, types of personalities that don't get along well together, just seemingly for no reason, just out of natural disposition. Um, you find that there's people I really get along with, and there's people that for no reason we just don't so much get along. That's very interesting that it's like that. Why can't we all get along? Or why can't we all be the same? Maybe there's a deeper meaning to that too. Perhaps we're not. Anyway, we're all unique embodiments from God. But fathers, he really encouraged us. I remember when he said these things, and he was saying, you've got to really find a way to love and to get along with each type, each of the 12 different types of personality. It's very important because when you get to spirit world, it can bring up a difficulty for you. You won't be able to go anywhere. You won't be able to move freely. It's, I think he talked about it being like 12 gates kind of thing. So it's very interesting, and well, there's so much to talk about when we talk about spirit world, because um, it sounds vast and it sounds at times complicated, but anyway, it is very good to always bring back. Well, the simple point of it is that if we develop our love and we cultivate that loving heart, it becomes easier. We become closer to God. And when I think of the parental heart, the four realms of love, children, siblings, conjugal, and parental love, that parental love, starts to become a real teacher of how to love. When you have, you've children with different personalities and who will put you through tests and challenge your ability to love, perhaps at times. Um, also it's this is just something that I've felt. I'm not sure, but uh, sometimes when I see other people, um, I sort of can see the uh, I can see the child within them in a sense, like somehow. Um, Especially when they're sad. I don't know. When I became a parent, it did change me a little bit to when I saw an adult that was sad, I would I sort of could feel, oh, I can see they're a child, and then my heart would melt because I would think of my children, and then I would really love them. My heart would be like, oh, the poor child. And anyway, I'm not sure if that's just me, but that's yeah, it helps you grow your love, I think. And then Father said there's even one sort of realm of heart above parental love. He said there's grandparental love as well, grandparents. And the grandparent, you know, the benevolent grandparent is a beautiful thing because they really they see everyone as little kids. They love them, and they're always giving and loving. So anyway, these realms of heart, we can grow naturally to a degree, I think, to become someone who can love all the different types of people, and become much more accommodating and loving and accepting of different styles of personality. Um, yeah, I know quite a few grandparents who they're just grandparent aged people where they're very they're so much open. They sort of love anybody. Think, wow, I wonder if they were born like this or whether they just sort of developed that. I'm not sure, but yes, okay. So I'll conclude there. Thank you very much. Um, Adieu.
Thank you very much for sharing with us, and great experiences you had in seeing the motivation between the different pastors, and yeah, I think that's a lesson, a practical lesson that you had in the message that you pretty much gave today, talking about the love and how to love, and the difference between the mind and the body, and how we know the mind is eternal and the body has a short lifespan, but it's essential for our growth. And so, really recognizing genuine love, that parents love by stimulating the conscience. Love does not mean giving what they want or giving what I want, but love really is the process of providing what they need. That's why we need to breathe the air of love provided by our mother and father. That air is that all-embracing environment, that all-embracing uh, uh, safety net, as to say, that we're free, to experiment and do in the presence of the parents' guidance, because really, our true parent, our original parent, is God, and God is only good, and God is sincere and motivated for our benefit, for us to become good. And so to love, really is what we learn to do. And I was thinking about, everything is decided in the 30 years after your marriage. Well, it probably took 30 years, because there's probably many of us now who are more than 30 years, probably decided, I'm not going to change. I'm finally satisfied to be one with my partner. I don't know what other relationships are, but one of the difficulties in my personal life of faith is to get rid of comparison, to compare. It's always greener on the other side. But you can make it green where you are. It's always somewhere else is easier. It's finally, after 30 years, decided I will do my responsibility, that I can't make excuses or pass it on to someone else. We know that our spouse is our Messiah, but that also means I'm the Messiah for my spouse. So, both father and mother always, made sure that everyone is, 100%, connected to God's will. That we're never missing the relationship, because love is the essential life element. It's what is what we're created from. If there's truly no love, I believe everything would just disappear. Love is what holds the nucleus of an atom together, because we know, except for hydrogen, which is only just one positive, every atom has multiple positives connected, stuck together, and which is apparently against the law of magnetism, or any physical law, because you put any two pluses together and they repel each other. Yet it's only love that holds it together. And when they split the atom, it causes an atomic explosion. So the strength of love, really does bind the universe, substantially, physically and spiritually together. So I think, Father is really showing, or the Chong Som Jong and true parents are really showing that we need to always focus on parents' love and stimulate our conscience to move towards becoming just like God. Anyway, some of my thoughts this morning. So thank you, and anyone else who'd like to share, go ahead. Thank you. Also, just a thought, as an aside, Findhorn in Scotland was a place renowned for growing monster vegetables. I mean, ridiculously large, and all based on their lifestyle of love and care for the environment. Just, I mean, really monster size. I mean, like I saw a pumpkin the size of a cart. Like a trailer, cart trailer, massive. Yes. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, morning everyone. Interesting thought about grandparents' love, and when you look at the vertical and horizontal positions, you've got parents and children above and below, and left and right, and front and back, and the grandparents' position is behind, right, in the past. So actually, it is a deeper love. I wouldn't say a higher love. It's a deeper love, but it's actually a horizontal love. It's not vertical. And I always, this is my point. Father says the deepest bonds are formed through horizontal love, not vertical love. So it's something we need to work on. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, this is such a topic. We have a little granddaughter in the house at the moment, and quite maybe a few years ago, I didn't really much think about grandchildren or even little kids, maybe 5 years ago or more. But then a certain sort of, I think, age came over me really when I began to think little kids are very cute once again, and yeah, it's sort of it just comes on you. Then suddenly you really, of course, we're busy in the mission and all that kind of thing, and very much that kind of focus. But yeah, I didn't really think much about grandchildren, but or little kids. But yeah, just I started seeing them very cute, and yeah, um, yeah, it just sort of happens with a certain age. I think it comes on. I've been thinking a little bit with this little child around us because it belongs, in one sense, you could say the parents feel it belongs to them and they take it away and bring it back at will. But in one sense, it's actually God who made the everybody, and they really belong to God, not to us, And that's becoming a little bit more evident in this little child that sort of comes and goes. And yeah, and I'm feeling, well, really, because of me, it exists. So it's really, I have sort of some entitlement. Anyway, it's quite a process, to figure that out. Just something also that Daniel said about different personality types. I think it's, I don't get on with this personality type or that, but I think it's got a bit more to do with fallen nature. I think probably we can get on with everybody because they all have, if they're a restored person, everybody should be a very giving person, and very conscious of what they're putting out to people around them, which should be love, pure love, because when you love people, they love you back, and somehow we need love from people. So yeah, it's. I think it might have a lot to do with fallen nature, but there are definitely different types of people. Some very strong-willed, and yeah, but we need all types around us, to sort of the variation of colors and people as well. But yeah, everybody should get on well harmoniously. One would hope at some stage. All right, that's my bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Kathy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, this talk that he gave today was really, really great. The love that you give to people and in the womb and on the life on the earth and in the spirit world. I look after a 96-year-old lady. I go and visit her in a rest home, and she's got a 77-year-old daughter, and the 77-year-old daughter is trying to bond with her 96-year-old mother. And I thought, well, if you haven't bonded with your mother now, whenever will you? So I gave this talk that like Daniel gave today. I've talked about this, how in the womb, we grow in the womb and then the life on earth, and that while we're on the earth, we've got to go learn the different loves. Love as a child, as a sibling, between the special love between a husband and wife, and then the parent. And she said, she's a Catholic, and she said, I've never ever heard this. This is such wonderful. Please write it all down for me. So we wrote it and we talked about it and shared it with her. And then she was quite high society over here. And her husband was anyway, and she was also. And she didn't like to come out of her room. She was too good for all the other people in the rest home. And I thought, uh-oh. So I took along the missionaries, the 4 missionaries, and I said, would you like to hear these missionaries sing to you? And they came along and they sang beautiful songs to her. And on the same day, there happened to be a concert, a Maori concert party. So I said to the missionaries, have you ever been to a Maori concert party? And they said, no. So I said, okay, instead of singing at 10:30, we'll go and sing to her at 10 o'clock. and then we will all go to the concert party. And so she had no choice, but she came with us and thoroughly enjoyed herself and saw all the other people enjoying themselves there. And then we all went back to her room and she had lunch, and then we said goodbye. And from that point on, she's gone out and she's meeting the other people in the other rooms. And her daughter is changing a lot. And so it's the amount of love that you give. And my thought, heck, I thought this lady, she's going to be 97 in October. She can't go to the spirit world with this problem with her daughter. We've got to resolve this. And so that's gradually been resolved, and I'm really grateful. You know, the POC, this part of the principle, you can talk to anybody who's at all, and they love it. And it's the word of love, that the amounts of love that you give in the love that you give to people, and the different stages of love. Because I said, you know, you got a baby that demands love. You know, they cry, wow, I'm hungry, wow, I'm thirsty, wow. You get to know the child's cry, what they're crying for. And I said, do you want a husband like that? Or does your husband want a wife like that? And she said, no. So these are different things that you can, this is such a great talk that you can share with anybody, anytime, because it's based on love. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Randall, you got your hand up. Last one for today.
I will probably catch up with you a bit later on, Daniel, about the Christian ministers and their attitude of how to do interfaith. Basically, if you send kids along to a barbecue at somebody's church, you don't want to find out that they've been converting to Buddhism or something like that. And so the whole thing of interfaith is not trying to convert. The thing that Kathy also touched on was okay, so what is this about giving love to the children and things like this? There was a book called Blessing Quarterly, or magazine, that came out for Blessed members, and advice to Blessing members after from 1975 onwards was hard to specifically talk to the Blessing members themselves. And so this Blessing Quarterly came out, and at one stage, and you could ask questions to the magazine, and either Reverend Quark or Reverend Quark would go to Father to get the answers. And as far as discipline goes, am I allowed to smack my child? Are you meant to do this? Are you meant to do that? If the Messiah says you can't do this, then that's pretty hard. That's pretty harsh. It's kind of like, now that I'm sinning if I do something against what it says. But the advice came back that there's different types of discipline you can use, but one thing you can never do is withhold love. Don't discipline by withholding love. And I remember a quote from Hyogenim. He had been, when he went to America, then all these school kids were saying, oh, how many people has your parents deprogrammed or brainwashed this week, and things like that. And it would not just be to him, but also to his siblings. And so Hyogenim started learning martial arts to defend himself and to defend his siblings. And he had to change school a few times. And this wasn't just bad for the school, but also leaders in the church would start criticizing Hyogenim. And so he was feeling accused and attacked from all different corners. But he kept a certain level of respect for the church. And, he came back and he was just awesome with carp and things like this. And the reason that he came back to, a more church type lifestyle, he says, well, there was one thing that I could guarantee on throughout my whole life, and that was that my father would love me no matter what. And so this is the kind of thing with, so, what is it with the love and this type of thing? This is the saving grace, to be able to have a parent that not only gives love, but also gives the example of living for the sake of others. And when that kind of attitude is there with the parent, for the children, then it's a saving grace. So down here in Geelong, we've been a bit more removed from a lot of the type of church activity, but I'm hearing from the parents of my kids' friends, school friends, that they're saying, I'm so grateful that my kid became a friend of your kid, because there's just so many different things that they could have gotten into, but with your kids, their type of example that they were showing, as a saving grace for my kid. So and this is especially when their family had, they were the kids of divorces or things like this, and so it was, they were going through a lot of different emotional trauma. And there was a couple of times when I had to leave late at night to somebody that was on suicide watch, and help out there, that type of thing. So there's all different type of situations around, and my kids are doing this example of living for the sake of others, that as well. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Randall. Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's time now for us to offer our unison prayer, so I'll just bring up the screen. Okay, let's pray together. Thank you. Jew, Jew. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing with us, and I hope everyone has a great day, and see you all again tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Daniel, today.
Thank you, Daniel.
So much. We love you.